Hello everyone, and welcome to the press conference of UN Human Rights Council at DRMC Model UN Conference 2022. My name is Ahmed Kabir Shayal, proudly serving as the Chief of Press. Alongside me, I have our sub-editor, Mr. Amlan Ahmed. We also have the executive board members of UNHRC. We have the chairperson, Mr. Robi Rothi. We have the vice chairperson, Mr. Sajid Faisal. And we also have the director, Ms. Jahin Nawar Isha. The committee has been discussing the agenda addressing human rights concerns under the Taliban Rule. Without further ado, I will request the permission from the chairperson to start the Q&A session. Thank you, sir. Correspondents only will get the floor to ask questions. Repeating, only correspondents will be recognized for questions. So do we have any question on the floor? Please raise your placards if you have a question. We will start with Xinhua News Agency, followed by Associated Press. Xinhua first.
The press wants to know from the delegate of Afghanistan, how can your government ensure women's rights regardless of their religion?
Yes, Afghanistan. The delegate of Afghanistan, on behalf of the Taliban government, would like to inform the press agency that the Taliban government is currently working on a purified version of the law, followed by Islamic law of Sharia, and would like to follow the Sharia law till the extent where the woman can be acknowledged as the woman can be offered all the women rights, and also acknowledge the fact that the Taliban is going to follow the Sharia law in case of any women's rights, and that is all. Thank you so much. We move to the question from AP, followed by anybody else want to ask a question? Correspondent, you have to raise your placard every time. Followed by Vox. AP, then Vox.
The question goes to the delegate of Russia. So the press wants to know, why is Russia supporting the Taliban despite the fact that the administration is devoid of ethnic, religious, and female repression and assaulted resistance fighters in the Panjshir Valley?
Delegate to understand that the Russian government is not supporting the Taliban. The Russian government is negotiating and asking the Taliban to provide an inclusive government so that there might be negotiations about recognition. It is not supporting the Taliban.
Thank you so much. Vox, any other correspondent? So please, one last time, you have to raise your placard. First Vox and then New York Times. Vox.
I just want to know why USA is concerned more about women but not the children.
Yes, US's comments. Yes.
Thank you.
Ma'am, USA is not concerned more about women's rights more than children's. It is true, however, that to build a good nation, we need a good mother. If a child grows up in a household where he or she sees violence, where he or she sees that it is justified for a man to kill his wife, and domestic violence is common, then it is not good for the health or for the growth or the psychological well-being of the child. However, the US also recognizes the rights of the children and actively endorses it.
Thank you. Moving to New York Times, followed by Reuters. New York Times.
The press wants to know from the delegate of Afghanistan, where does Afghanistan stand on the proposal given by the Swiss delegate on sending volunteer workers to a country?
On behalf of the Taliban government, would like you to repeat the question.
Where does Afghanistan stand on the proposal given by the Swiss delegate on sending volunteer workers to your country?
The delegation of Afghanistan comprehends and acknowledges the fact that the Swiss government, the Swiss Federation has sent some agreements regarding the voluntary works which requires humanitarian action. And also, the Taliban government would like to say that it is open for any humanitarian aid, foreign aid, which is going to be financed by Switzerland. However, it needs to be affirmed that Switzerland needs to recognize Taliban as a state government of Afghanistan in order to finalize this solution. Thank you for your request. Reuters followed by AFP.
The press wants to know that why the delegate of USA is being so concerned on the violation of human rights in Afghanistan after they themselves left that land in the hands of Taliban.
Delegate, understand that it is not honorable for a country to be under the supervision or under the parlance of another country for their survival. Number two, the US did not intervene in Afghanistan for the purpose of nation building. It went there to seek justice. However, they contributed in reconstruction as well. But we have reached to a peace deal with the Afghan people, and we are actively working towards sending humanitarian aid, and we are open for negotiations so that they can address the human rights of their people on moral grounds. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. A question from the chief towards the delegate of US. Are you open for questions? Right. Does the current administration, the Biden administration, regret the decisions made by the previous administrations of invading Afghanistan in the first place?
Please reply, sir. Thank you. Sir, the Biden administration does not regret the decisions made in the past. However, the administration does address that maybe it would have been better if it would have been considered that the withdrawal of troops should have been faster than it has been.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Follow up.
Sure, sir.
Considering the Biden administration does not regret the previous decisions made by the previous administration, do the delegate of USA believe that the Trump administration's foreign policy dealing with the Afghanistan issue was the best one?
Please reply, sir. In response, I would like to go back to my previous reply and say that when the delegate said that it does not regret the decisions of its previous governments or administrations, it meant that it did not regret the intervention. However, as for the other decisions made by those administrations, it is best to be answered by those administrations.
Thank you. Final question towards you. Since the Biden administration has finally pulled out forces from Afghanistan, does that mean the Biden administration and United States of America is going to pay more priority towards their own human rights issues from now on?
The Biden administration and the United States of America has always tried to address the humanitarian concerns. However, as the Honorable Chair has said, that there might be some flaws which we are actively working on to improve.
Thank you. Aside this confrontation and question, we'll move to AFP. Any other questions? Then Al Jazeera. AFP.
India had an agreement with Pakistan to use the Wagah border combinedly in the previous sessions. So the press wants to know from India why they are trusting Pakistani military forces so now. India had an agreement with Pakistan to use the Wagah border in the previous session. So the press wants to know from India why they are trusting the Pakistani military forces so much.
India and Pakistan, as the reason we had to use the Wagah border is because the transportation, if not, the conditions in Afghanistan are extremely volatile and requires and needs to send India needs to send wheat and food to the Afghani people. The reason, because India had to talk with Pakistan and came to a decision with them, is because air travel is not feasible for our aid, and the only method and the easiest method to send those aid to the Afghanistan people is because it's through the Wagah border.
Thank you. Moving to the next question, which would be by Al Jazeera followed by CNN.
Prominent Afghan professor of law and political science at Kabul University, Faizullah Jalal, was arrested for criticizing the Taliban regime. The press wants to know how criticism is a crime and asks the Taliban regime how can they ensure freedom of speech.
The delegation of Afghanistan would like to send the answer by chat. Thank you. Moving to next question by CNN and then BBC.
The delegate of Russia, could you justify your statement calling Taliban a time bomb? The press wants to know.
If the Russia had ever made comments, does the Russia want to make further comments?
The question was clear.
What do you think Afghanistan a time bomb? That's the quote.
So the delegate never mentioned such quotes that the Taliban are time bombs. The delegate mentioned that Afghanistan is a region which can turn into a terrorist time bomb, which might be a breeding place for the terrorists that are in the region.
Satellite surveillance proposed by China. The press would like to know from the delegate of China his thoughts on this and how it will affect future relationships with Afghanistan.
China.
So firstly, we propose this for the betterment of the people of Afghanistan and the support of the current governing body. But since they have rejected, we do recognize their sovereignty and their decision of their law, and we support their act. We do not much support their decision, but this will not affect the bilateral relations between Afghanistan and China.
Thank you. I think we are at the final question of this Q&A session, Times of India.
The press wants to know from the delegate of Afghanistan, how do they really plan to stop their violence?
The delegation of Afghanistan under the Taliban control would like to let the Times of India know that the Taliban government is a strict follower of the Sharia law, and Sharia law states, and under Sharia law, the Taliban believes that the Taliban is going to bring all certain restrictions to the violations through the Sharia.
Thank you. We are done with the question and answer session. Now we will hear from the Honorable Executive Board members. I would like to start with the Honorable Chairperson first. Sir, how has your expectations met so far by the performance of the delegate? And what are we going to hear from UNHRC in the substantive form when the closing plenary is here?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chief of Press. Actually, I think my delegates are really capable of passing the rough resolution for this for a peaceful rough resolution. And here we are having some discussion on violence, and we know that perception actually varies. But the delegates are coming out a solution to have a peaceful solution to giving the rights to the women and children. And I think the delegate of Afghanistan also assisting the delegate of Russia to this case, and we are hoping that there will be a possible solution. We are having that in our closing ceremony that will be move us to a peaceful resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving towards the comments by the Vice Chairperson now. Since we're discussing the human rights issue under the Taliban rule, and coming from your personal expertise, how feasible and how realistic the discussion has been by the delegates? Do you think they could have done better, or they have touched all the right points?
So basically, I believe that they have discussed a lot of issues, and they were discussed thoroughly, because a lot of things were commented upon, discussed upon, criticized upon, and I believe that they are doing the level best. And we really believe that they would come up with great solutions that might end the human rights concerns in the Taliban regime. So what I think is maybe they have discussed every vital aspect that should be touched, and they have clearly discussed those things, and they would I believe that they would come up with a very good draft resolution, because they have the potential and they are working very hard for it.
Thank you. Coming to the Director of the Council, Ma'am, how is the transition going on for you? It's coming from being a delegate to the other side of the table. What more can we expect?
Thank you, Honorable Head of Press. So in the committee UNHRC, as we had a very broad agenda, and most of the delegates of my committee are first-timers along with some experienced delegates. So from turning from delegate to executive board member, now I clearly understand that being a delegate in a committee is not actually an easy task. So a huge round of applause for the first-timers because they have given a very tough competition to the experienced delegates. And regarding what the vice chairperson said, I'm adding to that we have discussed the vital key points. We have passed the moderate topics, which were very much important. We have got some very important solutions, and the delegates had a very hectic debate. They had a very heating debate, and I think that we are going to have a very good draft resolution, which will be presented.
Thank you, ma'am. One final time, I would like to hear from the chairpersons. As an alumni of this institution, we all understand that you're thrilled, you're more than happy, and you're rejuvenated because the conference is finally happening. What future is there for DRMCMUN, and how can you help support them in the future in achieving those?
Thank you, Honorable Chief of Press. That's something making nostalgic memories actually. And back then, 17, we are hoping that there will be a conference in Dhaka Residential Model College. And it's almost 5 years. It's happening now. And we are thinking that we have potential students, potential manners from this college. And I think I will help them out to reach a level, national level and international level, to have them and make them known to all of us and all to the circuit, MUN circuit, not nationally, internationally too. And I think they have the potential, so do something and being a stakeholders in the next decades of the MUN of Bangladesh, MUN circuit of Bangladesh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. From international press, we hope the same, we expect the same. Viewers, this has been the final press conference of DRMC Model UN 2022. We have to sign off, and that would be pretty much it. Until the next time we come back live on the Facebook page, you can stay tuned and check our updates. Bye-bye.